just so I know where to edit it. So yeah, Rhubarb Records podcast, another one. Liam, how are you?
Pretty good, man. How are you going?
Yeah, good. Dylan.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to Christmas.
Yeah, excellent. And our guest today is none other than Cameron.
Campbell, baby.
Oh, sorry, Cam. I just referred to you as Cam the whole time.
No,
so
everybody does. Don't worry. Like usually, I wouldn't correct anybody because it's been 29 years of this. But
I'm so sorry, man. I feel hell rude.
No. Don't even. I have done that completely to other people where I've just.
I know your last name's Walker.
No. It's beautiful, man. But I've completely been in your position where I got to introduce someone, and like despite all fact checking and all following for however long, I still fuck up one thing, and then I just feel like absolute shit. So I'd like to acknowledge that my name is not Cameron, but it does not matter.
And as well, the thing is as well that a lot of people wouldn't know you by that name. They would know you by Struthless.
Fabulous.
Yes. So Struthless, Cam. What is it, Campbell?
Yeah.
What do you like to be called in person?
Whatever comes out of your mouth, the best.
Yeah.
And should it be Cameron? It should be. But thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Nevertheless, no, I do appreciate it.
So yeah, thanks for dropping by. It was a bit of a spur of the moment thing. I saw you were in Perth. You're one of my favorite artists that I follow online. And I was like, I got to get this guy in if he's free. And you were, and it worked out really well. So thanks for coming down, man. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me.
And I was saying to you that this episode we're going to talk about albums of the decade, which is a monumental task, but it's something that we've all kind of been thinking about, and Spotify's made us think about, and everything. And although it only gives you your top albums of this year and then just a brief summary on your decade, because they didn't start collecting all the same amounts of data until 2015 or something like that. So everything before that, they've only got small amounts of data of.
Is that how you put yours together? Your list? Just
no. I did use it for reference to kind of give ideas, but Spotify doesn't account for when I played records and when I played, local music and when I was listening to the radio and all that. So
also, my Spotify's wrong. It's too embarrassing. I thought I was cooler than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What was your number one?
Dude, this sucks. I've actually made a full video about this, but it was, and there's a strong reason why, I swear to God, but new people, you're going to judge me. My number one top played song of the decade was Jack Johnson's Banana Pancakes.
We've had this conversation on the podcast before. Have we? Or was this maybe with someone else?
We might have talked about
my number 2s to 5 were all really cool songs.
No. I hate on people who hate on Jack Johnson.
Oh, thank God.
He's great. He's simple banana pancakes.
Coastal Cafe, baby.
Exactly. You know what you're in for. You're in for a chill time. You're not going to get existential thinking about your life or anything like that. You're going to think about Curious George and rainforests and surfing.
I just think of that film clip he did with Ben Stiller.
Taylor.
Yes.
Oh God, I'm revealing myself.
I don't remember that one.
You really?
No.
It was
so it's
set in Hawaii.
I'd know the song though.
I think it's Ben Stiller playing himself, but he's just a total dick. I think he's is he the director of the film clip or something like that?
Yeah, and he kind of goes a little bit do you know who I am kind of mode on Jack Johnson.
Yeah, it goes all Ben Stiller on him.
Yeah, it's a classic time for the whole family, really.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller's very involved with a lot of artists like Jack Johnson, and we were talking before on Instagram, Limp Bizkit.
Yeah,
he's in Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavor Water.
True.
He shouts out Ben Stiller.
Huh.
Yeah. He says, this one goes out to you, Ben Stiller. You're my favorite motherfucker. I told you, didn't I? And then the song kicks in.
Must have just been on a coke binge one night and told him he'd shout him out on a track.
Well, he's friends with actors. He directed. Fred Durst directed that.
With John Travolta.
Have you seen this?
No.
So John Travolta's new film is called The Fanatic, and he plays an obsessed fan, Stan level fan, and it's directed by Fred Durst.
Oh, it's got the kid from the Stan film clip in it, doesn't it?
Really?
Yeah. So the actor who John Travolta's idolizing is Stan from Eminem's Stan film clip.
Whoa, that's cool.
There you go.
Cool hot fact.
Nice little detail.
Yeah.
It's all come full circle.
No, my buddy who's mad movie critic told me this, and he didn't like it, but I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah.
I think apparently it's terrible. It's apparently the general consensus is that it's not very good. But you kind of watch it ironically.
Yeah. Sweet.
I have read some people bloggers and stuff like that, not high profile movie reviewers, but some bloggers say that they really thought it was good or that it exceeded expectations. I mean, it can't be easy to write and direct a film.
No, that's what I think.
But I still haven't seen it, so I can't say.
Yeah.
whether they're right or wrong. You haven't seen it either?
I've got to watch. I've still got to watch it.
I've been getting secondhand smoke from my mate.
Have you seen it, Dylan?
No, I haven't seen it.
Dylan's got
I don't really
no
get
idea
Dylan's
what we're
like,
talking
who was
about.
Fred Durst?
Fred Durst. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so back on topic, albums of the decade. So, Cam, do you have yours handy or?
Oh my
Because
God,
you rocked
am I
up and
starting?
you started listing off years, and I was like, I don't mean top 5 of every year.
Oh.
No,
I
we really
realized
put you
I
on the
accidentally
spot with
put you
this
onto
one.
this like monumental
Da,
task.
da, da, da,
rather than just
yeah,
five
da, da, da,
general.
da. Oh man, I got so many. I don't know where to start. I'll start with maybe one that everyone will know.
Mhm.
2012, Diantwood, Tension.
Ah.
Phenomenal album. I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys are into your techno rave rap.
No,
Zeph as fuck.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, sorry, fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I dug Diantwood when I was in high school.
Yeah,
but
true.
didn't really like catch up after.
Oh, on the
that.
post. It
Yeah.
had such a beautiful attitude to it. And it had more singles. Like you could tell that they'd been like going past the meme because there's so many. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, they got memed.
Yeah, they got
That-
memed, but I mean, getting memed is how artists get big now, like,
Yeah.
or at least artists in the hip hop world get big. You know, the Lil Pump method, right? Like, blow up
Yeah.
as a meme, and then like, like get on the horse while it's galloping,
Yeah.
and then if you can get on the horse, like, shit, you got a great horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that was like
That's a
the
good analogy,
blueprint of what would later become, you know, the hip hop scene that I think we have today, thanks to meme culture. But I think Diantwood set the tone because obviously 2009 they released SOS,
Yeah.
you know, which had like that crazy film clip where he's
The
like,
butterfly
I'm a
one.
ninja, you know,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
my
yeah.
life is like a video game, like all that kind of
Yeah.
shit. You know, it's like
And then they were in was it Chappie?
Chappie,
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
I
movie.
haven't
Chappie
seen
was
that
cool.
one
Yeah.
either. Actually.
And this is all pre Ninja getting cancelled, but
Oh yeah. I heard about this. Have you seen his story about playing basketball with Kanye West? I
Yeah,
think
that
it
was,
is?
that was yeah, I know. Yeah.
Is that what he got
Drake?
cancelled
I think it
over or
was
something?
Drake. Drake. No. He got cancelled over this Melbourne rapper Ziani, who like claimed that he was like a pedophile and stuff.
Oh,
So
right.
yeah, like real cancel.
jeez.
Yeah, no, whole bunch of stuff. But before that, he like wrangled the SOS meme fame of being like this tall, goofy motherfucker who was saying like to everyone who ever said I was a fucking psycho, you know, like all that kind of stuff, and then turned it into Tension, which to me is just like mature, perfect techno rap. Which I mean, those are the two holy grails of music, genre wise, in my opinion. Techno and rap, like holy shit, you can put them together. It's like the most high energy shit. And then they made that album, and it just, it just fucked.
Yeah.
There's definitely not much that I can think of that sounds like them.
Yeah,
Definitely nothing
no.
that predated them anyway.
Exactly.
So you've got to
yeah,
give them that.
very genre defining. But that's the first album I'll bring to the table in terms of
Yeah.
this decade's albums that have really just knocked me for six.
Yeah. And what, like, have you, when you did yours, did you just do a general 5, Liam?
Or
did
was it
you
like a top
order?
5?
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't have to be.
I was struggling
didn't.
because
I've got
like,
one that's top, but
Yeah.
Okay.
the rest is just a mix.
I might have started with my top.
I try to sort of pick one from like each, or not each genre, but one from each genre that I sort of listen to the most, I guess.
Cool.
The only one that I couldn't think of was like a metal one. I had one, but then it got edged out by another one from a different genre.
Yeah.
So most of the metal that I listen to is a bit older. But yeah. Are you asking me for my first one then?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So first one is a jazz album actually, which
Yeah.
pretty sure you put me onto it. It's Yusuf
We might both have this on our list.
Oh really? Yusuf
Yep.
Kamal Black Focus. Yeah.
It's on my, I've got it as my number 5, but
Mhm.
yeah.
It's my number 5 as well actually.
Do you know this album, Dylan?
I'm not sure. I think I know a couple of tracks from it, but not the actual whole
You would have
album,
heard
so-
it. You would have definitely heard it. Like
Yeah.
it's probably
I've definitely at least linked it to you.
it's definitely like it's helped to kickstart the jazz revival, I think.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's a collaborative album between Yusuf Days, who's a drummer, and Kamal Williams, also known as Henry Wu, so like an electronic producer. But these two guys were pretty like they've been kicking around the London scene for a little while. Henry Wu is a DJ, but he also plays keyboards really well, and they did
Yeah,
like
he's
a little
really good.
impromptu like set together, and some label executives or some people in higher places saw it and said you guys should put an album together, and yeah, the rest is history basically. So out of that, like, kind of spawned this whole new wave of jazz out of the UK, which has super kind of like, it's almost like pirate radio inspired, like bit of grime influence, bit of hip hop influence, bit of like electronic house influence is like really prevalent in it. And just high level instrumentation. Just, really can't go past it. And then out of that came Black Focus Records, which is, it's all taken off now. Now you've got like Alpha Mist and dudes like that who are just killing it, and everyone else has now just like seen that as a template and just picked it up and ran with it. And thanks to that album, we've got just this amazing new wave of jazz. So
that album knocked me off my feet.
Yeah.
Have you listened to it, Cam?
I have not.
Yeah, Black Focus, Yusuf Kamal.
Perfect.
Do yourself a favor. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's just a great time.
So it's got like a white album cover with like a black sort of
Sanskrit
Yeah,
cover.
okay,
Yeah.
I do.
And there's also a follow up to it, and the cover is pretty much like opposite. It's black with the white scripture on it.
Okay.
And that's Yusuf Kamal's solo album.
Kamal Williams.
Kamal Williams' solo album.
The
sorry.
Return.
Yeah.
Which came out last year.
Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
that's just as good.
Just
Like,
as good.
I can't
yeah.
really separate.
I can
the
never
two.
pick really between the two.
And I think Days probably plays on it anyway. I'm sure he is on there somewhere.
Nah, he isn't. They had a bit of a falling out.
Oh,
But
did
they're-
they?
Yeah, I think they're friendly again. now.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go. But that's my number 5.
Yeah, nice. Dylan?
I just went through and just basically grabbed
Dylan's got his in a pizza
Rhubarb
box.
Jam,
the
Volume
fir-
1.
No.
Volume 2.
I made a point of not bringing anything in that we've released ourselves. 'cause we don't
Alright.
want to
As much as
plug
the
our own
temptation
stuff.
was
Like,
there, right?
Yeah, we're not trying to advertise our own music, but so I picked "Don't Get Lost" by Brian Jonestown, just
Yep.
because
Hang on the
obviously
shirt.
they pump out like a lot of music, but this one in particular was just like, I don't know, it sort of took a different direction. Had a bit more of like an electronic sort of like
Yeah.
chill out sort of feel.
This is one of my favorite one. By
Yeah,
them,
I think
actually,
that's.
so.
Didn't you say that's the sort of album that got you interested
Yeah.
in the band? Yeah,
One of the 50.
yeah. So they just pump out a lot of records. They're always good, but this one in particular just really sort of stood out as like, a different sort of sound, and just kind of gave me those like '90s Sunday morning come down sort of
yeah.
sort of vibes. That
There's a tune on that one called Melody's Echo Chamber, or is it Melody's
Melody's
Real
Actual
Real
Echo
Actual Echo Chamber?
yeah.
And it sounds like if Quentin Tarantino like approached Massive Attack to make a song like a
Yeah.
soundtrack for one of his movies or something like that. It's
Yeah, there's definitely some Massive Attack influences in there with this
yeah.
one, I reckon. So.
with like Anton's like sort of reverbed out guitar in the background. Yeah,
It's very washed. and
yeah,
reverb.
super washed. But
Super reverby.
yeah, that one was definitely a good one. Took me a little while to actually get into. I think that's because it goes in so many different directions.
Yeah. No, I definitely like. I've listened to this a lot, and every time I listen to it, like I'm just like, wait a second, I just have to turn it up a little bit louder. So yeah, that's mine.
Great choice.
My number 1. I'll just start off with my biggest one. That was
Oh.
clear cut. Lonerism by Tame Impala.
That
That was that album was the landmark album for a huge like shift in my music taste. It was just one of those albums that was right place, right time in life. Everything just kind of lined up, and it was this kind of magical like time of listening to music. And that one's
everyone's swiping.
Yeah, it was
Dylan's
also in my
got
top
it on
5.
his
Yeah,
list.
Swiping
Yeah.
Matt's choices.
Yeah, fantastic album. I feel good about putting it as my number 1 because it's technically local, even though Kevin Parker is pretty much like an international megastar now. But yeah, it's local music.
Obviously, still very relevant to you today as well, because pretty sure we've definitely brought this one up on the podcast like numerous times.
Yeah, I don't listen to it all that much in the last couple of years, or haven't, I should say. And I don't too much. It's kind of like it's a special treat,
Yeah,
playing that one.
yeah.
you know.
It's like a big bowl
There's
of chalky
there's
ice
a
cream.
ritual. I don't just like throw it about, and I don't just chuck it on the car. It's like there's a little bit of a ritual
Yeah.
to it, just because it's very nostalgic as well and all that. And I don't want because I'll spend myself on music, and it'll become a cliche by the end of it, and so it'll lose all meaning. So I don't want to do that. There's a few albums where like as much as I want to, I don't touch like just
Because you
randomly.
don't
I'm
want to
like,
ruin them.
I don't want to like ruin it.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's one of them, and that's my number 1. So
Actually, because I remember you and me chatting, and I was saying the Currents is my favorite Tame Impala, and you were kind of like, oh, I wasn't too sure about that direction, and they headed in for that one. So have you heard anything off of the Slow Rush yet, and what are your thoughts about that?
It's once again, it's like I don't knock it. It's I listen to it and I'm like, this is quite good. You know, obviously a lot of people really enjoy it and they obviously really connect with it. Not me, but that's okay. Like, you know, I prefer the older stuff. That was just the sound that, you know, appealed to me and went in a different direction. But it's one of those things where like, I just kind of like, I don't really care too much about it because I know like one day I'm probably gonna retroactively like really enjoy it. Be like,
just not the right time yet.
Exactly, you know. And Currents like still has some great songs on there that I like, you know, have obsessed over and everything. But it didn't really, from a start to finish perspective, didn't really like hold water for me. So
yeah, gotcha.
Which is okay.
There you go.
I'm not upset either.
I'm not crying.
But no, I'm very curious about this next album because one of the tracks, which one was it? Borderline, I didn't really care too much about, but Patience and this new one, I dug.
They're definitely going in a bit of a vaporwave disco kind of direction, I guess. Like sort of like Gorillaz' last album, kind of really evoked that kind of neon lights.
It's a good comparison, actually.
Yeah,
I really thought about that.
Yeah, and I thought that last Gorillaz album was like actually nearly made my top 5. It's
the Now.
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
Yeah.
We're sorry about humans one.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get into that, Cam?
Yeah, I'm a huge Gorillaz fan.
Yeah. Did you like Humans? Because Humans was really divisive.
No. But like, I think for me, I mean, like, I'm probably stock standard mid-level fanboy. Where Plastic Beach was my highlight.
Well, I think we're on the same wavelength when it comes to Gorillaz.
And it was like obviously like Gorillaz, you know, like Demon Day. Like as they came out, everyone was my favorite album until Plastic Beach. Then he did The Fall while he was on tour with Plastic Beach.
Yeah, that was done on GarageBand, isn't that right?
All on an iPad.
And it was probably appropriately titled.
Yeah. Because he gave that away as like a free download or something.
He did. And there was like, I think like one or two. I'm not even going to say good tracks. I'll just say tracks.
It's on vinyl now, though. They've put it. Yeah. They've put it on wax. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that legitimizes it. But like, yeah, that was just like an okay album.
It's canon now.
Yeah. Right. Like,
I think the only thing that he didn't do, or the only thing he did do right with The Fall, was not like upload it to everybody's iPods. Involuntarily.
Go full Bono on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, Plastic Beach was just such an incredible album. But I think that might have been, was that a 9 or 10? Yeah.
I think that was
right on
2009.
Oh, really?
I think it was 2009. Let's look this up.
I actually think it might have been 10 because I'm pretty sure I remember being like 19.
It might have just slipped into the decade.
I'll Jamie it and I'll pull it up.
Yeah, pull that shit up, Jamie.
I love how I can say that phrase with anyone who's been on that podcast and everyone knows.
Everyone
that's
gets it.
Entered the lexicon of anyone who listens to
into
podcasts.
pods.
Yeah.
Literally anyone who's ever
You're
used
right.
YouTube.
It was 2010.
Oh shoot, maybe that's my number 4 then. Plastic Beach, because that is an amazing album.
It's a great album.
Yeah. Oh man, God, what didn't that album have?
It's a beautifully like
had
fluid
Lou Reed on
mixed
it.
bag.
Yeah, it even had that Middle Eastern choir, which was incredible. There were just so many elements to it, and then it had singles, which I guess is what carries an album around to people who aren't album people.
But
which is
even
incredible.
then, it didn't feel like a sellout.
No, it didn't.
It was a great track.
Yeah, like Melancholy Hill, right? Like you take a song like that, it feels within the album because like you get that you know, the melodies of that would be like in what's the you know, the Lou Reed one. What was that like? The one where he had.
I can't remember the title of that tune.
Some kind of nature, and he put Lou Reed on the auto tune. So it's like you've got like something like Melancholy Hill where he's got like these like just really get aroundable pentatonic kind of tunes that are going on, but then he does it again and then he does it again like heaps throughout it, and then he interspices it with like, you know, like you were saying before, like you were talking about like how like grime seems to find its way into like English music regardless. And like he's putting that in it, and like I don't know, just like even like his classic sampling and stuff.
Yeah, he used every guest artist to their strengths on that album. Like, Lou Reed was doing his spoken word like vocal delivery. He had like Bobby Womack just like wailing on another track.
Was that Cloud of Unknowing?
Yeah,
that was a
which was just
banger.
killer.
I reckon that's like my favorite track from that album.
Yeah. Whereas like Humans was kind of just like, let's see how many like celebrities we can cram into one song.
Which feels like, you know, that's Eminem and Ed Sheeran, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like widely considered
or Ed
to not
Sheeran
be...
and Beyonce.
Right?
Yeah. Or Ed Sheeran and fucking literally anybody.
So we'll just call it the Ed Sheeran effect.
Yeah.
Right? Like, which for me is like, it's like, I don't know. There was recently an Addams Family animated movie where they just got a million different like high relevant actors, and it's widely considered in the animation circuit to be just like the biggest hack of a movie, like just a piece of shit.
That new Pixar one?
Not even Pixar. Pixar wouldn't fucking greenlight that shit. Like, yeah. But like, you know, it's just like, how many celebrities have you got to throw at something before you realize it's just not worth getting made?
Yeah, that was kind of definitely like Humans' downfall.
Right.
Was
it clickbait?
Yeah.
Damn.
It's a really. Have you listened to the album much?
No, like I gave it the Gorillaz fanboy listen, and then I was like, there's just, I don't know, maybe I had to.
Much for me.
My friend
there was a couple of good beats on it, but
yeah.
I remember I got an advanced like review copy of it for a publication I was writing at the time, and I even went back to him and I was like, I don't feel anything about this album, and I don't feel comfortable trashing it because I just feel like I'm not the kind of person that it's going after. So like, can I palm this off to someone else who's probably a bit more into hip hop than I am?
Yeah.
Just because, I was like, well, it's obviously not for me, so I'm not going to trash it. You know?
Yeah. And it's just odd contextually to come out in a time when hip hop is just blossoming beyond blossom.
Yeah, maybe that was, an attempt to kind of make Gorillaz. Not that I ever felt they were irrelevant.
No,
like
I mean, Damon Albarn will never be irrelevant.
No, Gorillaz is like a legacy. Like, like Gorillaz probably more so than Blur.
Yeah,
I would say these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dylan, Gorillaz.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I kind of, Humans, I didn't really take much interest in, like listened to it and it just didn't really grasp my attention. Plastic Beach, so many people have told me how much they love it, and I've actually kind of like haven't explored that album properly. Like I feel like now I need to go home and like listen to it.
So Demon Days was your last one.
Demon
Days is incredible.
Yeah, Demon Days obviously that was just
Gorillaz.
the Gorillaz and Demon Days just like when they first kind of exploded, just they just such a different sort of sound and just such a awesome sort of mix of indie and hip hop and electronica and everything just kind of coming together in this big sort of conceptual sort of fantasy world. It's just really interesting.
I think for me, like Demon Days, you know what Demon Days reminds me of?
The greatest album of all time.
iPod videos.
Very close. Yes, same time period. However, what it reminds me of is Tony Hawk's Underground 2, and I'll tell you why.
Thug 2, baby.
Yeah, Thug 2, that's it. And the reason why is because I had it on Xbox, and if you had it on Xbox, if you had stored an album onto the Xbox's hard drive, you could put a custom soundtrack. To it. And so, like being a kid and like mucking around with that, one day I stumbled upon this, and I had put Gorillaz on the Xbox, and I was like, oh my god, I can listen to this album when I play Tony Hawk's sick. And so I just played heaps of Tony Hawk's, listening to that album on loop pretty much. So like that album is so ingrained in my head from so many hours of Tony Hawk's Underground 2.
You're just like skating while fire's coming out the monkey's head.
Oh man, so many great secret
skating
characters.
as like Shrek or something. I think you could play as Shrek in that one.
You could play as Shrek. I'm pretty sure you could play as like a koala.
You could unlock Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day in that one.
Really?
No, that was American Wasteland. Sorry.
Different one. I think Thug 2 was the last one I played.
Yeah.
Like actually played from start to finish.
Yeah, that are more of a GTA vibe, eh?
And you could do that in GTA as well. I'm pretty sure. Like upload your own songs, play your own songs. There was like a radio station you could flip to that would just play the songs from your hard drive.
Did you ever play the it was originally a DS GTA title, but it went to other ones? Chinatown Wars?
Nah,
no.
I think it's heavily underrated game and heavily like under discussed. You can get it on smartphone now. It's an app version and it's a top down GTA. It came out on the Nintendo DS. It was awesome. And you know the band Anvil? They had their own radio station on it. They just played Anvil songs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there was a documentary about them.
GTAs were top down.
They were top down. Yeah. And this one was a companion game to GTA 4.
Right.
So it was the same map as GTA 4, but like top down, and it was wicked. was so much fun, and you would do drug deals to make your money and everything, and it had this whole like kind of running a gang empire level like element to it. It was very different to the other GTAs, but very addictive.
That's so cool. You should check that one out.
Get it, put it on your phone, and play it on the plane on your way back.
Hell
to Sydney.
yeah. We're rating the top 5 GTAs of the 2010s, baby. Fabulous.
But yeah, so what else? Should we just throw some albums out there? What was another one?
What else we got?
Let's go with
it.
What
have you got?
What have I got here? Actually, here we go.
The Pizza Box of Mystery.
Goat.
Oh, Goat.
Yeah.
Nice.
World Music. This is a band that's just like, well, they're not even an official, like, I think they kind of like just mix members up.
They're a collective.
Yeah, they're
really.
a collective.
Ghosts, they all remain masked.
They're the Wu-Tang of
Yeah, they're like this pagan psych, tribal, Swedish band. They all wear really crazy outfits and multiple vocalists and fuzz guitars and just
very jam band kind of.
Yeah, jam band. I don't think
world music influence.
Bad
Yeah.
trip.
I like a bit of an Afrobeat kind of vibe, and lots of weird percussion instruments, and
exactly. Yeah, just one of those albums that I just heard and just kept thrashing. And
I remember you showed me Goat years ago. I was like, damn, who are these guys?
Yeah,
you were
my
like,
partner
Goat.
Sint absolutely loves this album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
World Music.
World Music.
Yeah. Second one, I think.
Something like that, It's a very cool cover. Like, I think, just sitting there and watching them on YouTube for like hours and hours and hours on end, just because they're just
great stage show.
Yeah.
Awesome, like, wouldn't say like choreographed like dance move necessarily, but like their stage show seems like a little bit choreographed, which is cool. You don't get a lot of that sort of thing these days.
Yeah, I find it's whatever the opposite of self-indulgent is that, because it feels like audience indulgent. It's like you bought a show, here it is.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, it gives me I know it's in a completely different world, but when I've seen videos, like it reminds me of when I first saw Slipknot as a teenager. Because I was like, masks.
Impactful.
Yeah, or probably what Juggalos feel. I don't know. Just costume bands, right?
Yeah, Xanax.
Slipknot, I will stand by as like a quality act. Like, I always tell everyone, if you can look past the "I hate my mum and dad" style lyrics,
dude, those are not something you need to look past. I hate my mum and dad style lyrics are sick, and they are so underrated by by purists. Like, that is one of the coolest things about like emo and teen angst music.
That's
it's
true.
just how suburban their fucking problems are. That's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
I stan.
Yeah, you'll stand by the lyrics. I could never get into the lyrics, but I still liked the vocals of it anyway.
Yeah, and Stone Sour just proved that he was a fucking beautiful vocalist as well.
But the production of Slipknot is just fucking on point. It's so well done. And it's like, because I think Clown is like a proper production dude. And he's like one of the main writers in the band. Like, he doesn't do much on stage, but he's very much a driving force behind the scenes, like on the recordings of the albums and everything. So he's brought his influence. Joey Jordison back in the day is like a beast of a drummer.
Oh, bro, did you ever watch those like old clips of like him being strapped into the drum kit, and then the drums just get like raised above the audience and goes upside down, and he's still just doing this hectic drum solo, and you're like,
Tommy Lee, eat your heart out.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Definitely, kind of combined the best parts of music with the best parts of circus.
Right? Yeah, it's theater. It's theater, which is like so lost on, I mean, so many people, particularly like metal fans, right? Like, I respect the heck out of the genre, but it's like, I mean, the typical metal fan is like a dude with too much testosterone who like wants more, like who's like maybe like, you know, wanting something, right? Wanting something more out of life. And it's like, if you can give him this, and I say him quite intentionally, this fucking explosion of just like weirdness, it's like, I'm not a freak, because there are other freaks. I don't know. I love it.
That's why you get acts like Gwar as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dudes who are just in it for the freak value.
I went and saw Gwar, like maybe it might have been like a week. A year before the lead vocalist died. They were playing some festival in Joondalup, and Megadeth was headlining.
That was Soundwave.
No, it wasn't Soundwave.
Oh,
it was
no,
before
that was No
Soundwave.
Sleep Till.
No Sleep Till, that's right. And,
but then they also played the Soundwave that was at Joondalup Arena as well.
Yeah.
But that was like right before he died, like
it
2
was
months.
very close before that. Yeah. And it's still one of the craziest concerts I've ever seen. Like, so they played this massive, like, it was sort of like an indoor warehouse that had been converted into one of the basketball arena. Yeah. And they were kind of like, there's like a mezzanine that ran all the way around the perimeter of the building, and there were police like everywhere just looking down on the crowd.
I remember
so
that, yeah.
Guar kind of like cottoned onto this and must have had like a song, like an anti-police sentiment related song in their set list, and they brought out a guy in a pig suit, and like he had like he was like a pig, and he had like a police outfit on. And they brought him out like on like a big pole. They'd like tied him to this pole, like he was like they were going to cook him or something like that. And basically just proceeded to like mutilate him on stage,
and then like decapitated him, and he's
decapitated him, and like there was like blood and like pus like spewing all over the audience, and like everyone was like chanting like "fuck the police" with all these police like looking down on the crowd. It got like almost like wild out of hand at one point.
I remember going into that mosh, and I don't blame them for being there, because I remember with my mate, we walked right in and we were to the right of the stage, and there were some people up ahead of us, and we walked up, and then we saw them pull out like a meth pipe, and we were like, fuck this, let's like,
it was,
we just went to the other side of the stage and we're like,
there were some less than reputable characters at that gig.
Yeah, so
it was pretty out of hand at one point.
Hanging out there,
but I'm sure the police would have absolutely loved that.
Yeah,
certainly created like is a memory I will never ever forget though. Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me. Do you remember, the Big Four? Do you know about that? Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax.
Whoa.
So, the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Or
plus one.
Quadrupedy.
Quadrupedy.
Yeah. Let's go with that one.
Damn.
This is like 2010, I think. It was in my last year of high school, so it would have been 2010. And so, Metallica and Megadeth. Do you know Megadeth?
Cam? Yeah.
Yeah, so Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, was in
Metallica. They had like this feud, like they settled the feud in 2010, and Slayer and Anthrax all joined together, and they did this massive tour around the world, and they streamed one of the concerts. It was in, oh God, I can't remember now, but it was somewhere in Europe, and they streamed it to cinemas around the world, and me and my mates went because they. Is that next door?
It's a fridge.
It's the guy that's locked in the closet.
Sound like someone knocking on a door.
It's the gremlin, bro. Yeah. Fed the gremlin too.
Yeah. This Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, Metallica, and they do this to it. Broadcast to cinemas. Me and my mates go right. They're showing all the different acts, and it gets to Slayer, and people are getting amped up. And this is in a cinema in Northbridge. People were going that wild over Slayer, like holding cigarette lighters. They rip up the cinema seats and throw them at the screen. Like, I'm not even joking. They paused the movie, called the cops. Police came into the cinema, sat around, and the cinema manager came out and was like, right, if anyone throws any more seats at the screen, we're stopping the viewing and there'll be no more. And there was still like Metallica to go after that as well. So a lot of people were, like, getting pissed off at these guys. It was a very small bunch out of the crowd. They were like very front row. They were just going absolutely mental. It was fucked. Me and my mates were at the very back, and we're just watching this unfold and just like giggling, because that's all you can do really in that scenario. But like, it was fucking wild.
Yeah, Slayer definitely have some pretty wild fans.
And it was like they were ripping up not just like one seat, but like 3 seats that are like attached together and just like slinging it at
so much chaotic energy
it was
to bring into a movie theater.
Yeah. In the 80s,
have a wine and chill out.
There was kind of like a before the age of the internet, so God knows how this became such a widespread thing, but kids would like carve Slayer into their arms.
Oh yeah,
that was like a big thing.
I think it was on one of their videotapes they put on there, and
it must have been,
and
everyone started doing it. But yeah, definitely one of those bands.
Damn, I want to carve Slayer into my arm. That sounds cool. I want to fit in.
Yeah, because it's on one of their DVDs. Easy, the guy cuts it in.
Yeah,
and
there's
then
no curves required, so you're just like zigzagging.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
they
you
probably
don't need any
intentionally.
craftsmanship.
Yeah, they
don't need to practice on my friends.
And then light it up, and it just leaves.
Light it on fire. And like, dude, Slayer, yeah.
Have you seen that video where the guy's like sitting down there interviewing him, and he's like, "What does it mean to be a Slayer fan?" And he's like, this is what it is. And he's like, you're walking down the street and you see another guy in a Slayer shirt, and you know. It's like this secret club of Slayer fans, and you're just like, if you got a Slayer shirt on, that's like your kind of secret handshake almost.
Yeah, the Freemasons of the metal world.
That's a very good analogy. Yeah,
fabulous.
All right, albums.
Yeah. Who wants to throw one out there?
Oh yeah, I'll go because I've actually got I'm gonna have to cut myself short. Let's pick one. Ty Segall, Emotional Mugger, 2015.
Really? Yeah.
Like, that guy is just so prolific. Like, he puts out at least an album a year, and there are lots of people that do that. Like, you know, there's King Gizzard, there's the OCs, the Brian Jonestown Massacre, we've already mentioned. But I don't know what it is about Ty, but he seems to reinvent himself with every new album. Like every new album.
Yeah.
And Emotional Mugger was, I think the one that he put out before that was Manipulator, which was his first double album, and that was kind of like a double album full of songs in like a pop format. And then just when you thought he'd sort of gained momentum with his songwriting, he just puts this album out called Emotional Mugger that was just this bizarre listening experience, like so jarring and like kind of like angular, and just took a whole different approach. Just ripped everything, all the foundations he'd laid up, and just tossed them out the window essentially. And not to mention, you know, the whole theatrical aspect we were talking about. He started wearing like a gigantic crying baby mask like on stage. And,
I've seen that.
Yeah. And just like dribbling out of his mouth and stuff, and just being a general weirdo.
God, that's hot.
Hey man, whatever you're into, but
I'm not here to kink shame, bro.
But I just the album was just so cool, man. Like it was one of those ones I just couldn't stop listening to. It was a bit weird at first, and then it kind of grabbed me and pulled me in, and I just think that he's probably I reckon he's the most original, like, or at least the most talented songwriter / musician I think there has been since Josh Homme, or whatever you say his name.
I think it's Homme. Yeah.
Homme?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Hummus. But anyway, I think that he's pretty well recognized, but he's never ever broke the mainstream, and I think that's all of his own accord, because he's just so uncompromising in his art. Like his most recent album, First Taste, which isn't, I don't think it's anywhere close to one of his best albums, but there's not like a single electric guitar on that album. Like he just decided, I'm just gonna, like, maybe guitar is my songwriting crutch. I'm just gonna try to write an album without playing any fucking guitar on it at all. And that turned out to be a pretty decent album as well. So just proven that he can just keep evolving.
There's a method to his madness.
Yeah, or maybe there's none at all. Who the fuck knows? But back in the early days, he used to have like a really garage sound, and then that evolved like through to sort of showing his other influences. Like he started playing acoustic guitar, and sort of had a bit of a Mark Bolan like T-Rex kind of vibe, and it's like super loves T-Rex. And you can hear that in his singing and songwriting. But yeah, Emotional Mugger, man, hadn't heard anything like it before or since, so that goes on the list.
Sweet. I'll keep it on the garage rock frequency, because I said on a previous podcast, when we were talking about this podcast, that while King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is by far my band of the decade, I cannot say that any of their albums are my album of the decade. However, I take that back. My album of the decade from King Gizzard is I'm in Your Mind, Fuzz. That was the one. Like anyone who's listening to this podcast, Liam, Dylan know this. Like I am a King Gizzard nut. Like I'm up there like 5 a.m. pre-ordering the vinyl record when they drop it and all that. Like I'm full into it. However, Mind Fuzz was the album when it came out that I was like, I love this band. Like I was interested in them before. Float Along was great. Eyes Like the Sky. And there was another one.
Quarters?
Or 12 Bar Bruise. No, Quarters was after Mind Fuzz.
Yeah.
I think it was just those three at that point. And then Mind Fuzz came, and before then I was like, oh, these guys are interesting. They're cool. Like they're doing something. Oh, Oddments, sorry, that was the one I was thinking of. And that I was like, all right, I like what these guys are doing. Like they're really experimental. I'd like to hear them go a little bit heavier. And then they brought out Mind Fuzz, and I was like, yeah, these guys are fucking sick. I'm in. And it's all gone downhill from there. And many budgets compromised from there with buying their records and such. But yeah, I'm in your Mind Fuzz. It's a great album because the first half is just one long jam, and then you've got all these other like kraut rocky kind of style jams in the second half. I can't fault it. It's very lo-fi. If I could improve one aspect of it, I would just say like some remaster to get released. But to me, it's still, that adds to the character as well. And yeah, I fucking love, that Tenacious D scene, in the movie when he brings them out on stage and it's like JB's dream.
I fucking love this band.
Period. That's like me with King Gizzard.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's
anyway,
good.
That's one of mine. Cam, you were nodding in excitement. You're a King Gizzard fan?
Oh, I wouldn't call myself a fan because I know they've got fans.
Yeah, they've got
if you put
fans.
King Gizzard on, I will not tell you to change it. Put it that way.
Nice.
I like the music. But yeah, like I know that they have a level of fan which I just am not. But yeah, no, like I appreciate the album of King Gizzard that you have chosen because anyone who does take a very different direction, or I wouldn't call that different, but like
well, that's their thing as well, is that every
exactly
album is a different direction.
Yeah. And you picked one which I would say is the most different direction, so I really like that. Yeah, which is cool.
Sweet,
nice.
Yeah. So it's strange that that's the most different direction too, but to me that was what solidified them and is kind of like the base standard.
Right.
When I think of King Gizzard, everyone has their own kind of vision of what King Gizzard is, and it's informed by the albums that they listen to most.
Yeah.
And for you, obviously, it's a different one. I don't know which ones you've listened to most, but for me, Mind Fuzz is. So to me, they're that kind
King
of band,
Giz,
and then everything else is an extension of
True that. Well, I guess it's like Kanye albums, isn't it?
Right.
Where people each have like a different idea of who Kanye is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sweet.
Dylan, do you have a
King Giz?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Your Mind Fuzz was probably the one that really kind of just
put them on the
stuck
map
out.
for a lot of like really hardcore music listeners.
What's that?
It put them on the map.
Oh yeah, I mean they're like, I just love the fact that they've gotten so big, and they've managed to stay independent the whole time as well, and also like Flightless Records is the label that they're on is bringing up so many other bands and like putting them into the spotlight.
Yeah,
they're awesome. Like they just like I kind of
definitely become sort of larger than the sum of their parts.
I can respect what they're doing. They're just doing it independently and on such a huge scale, and definitely doing good things for Melbourne music. So
and vinyl as well. Like I would say in general, because I obviously locked down the vinyl market really well. Kind of made it a part of the culture of being a King Gizzard fan, is that you get the records and all that, and it's kind of a bit of a spectacle around the band itself. But I would say that there's probably a decent chunk of people who are into records now because they started buying King Gizzard records and then bought more because they then got a record player, and
they build the hype well. There's countdowns to the launch. They sell out pretty much within minutes of every single release. And people just froth over it basically.
Well, Eric Moore is really clever with all that stuff. When King Gizzard was getting really popular right as I was doing my communications degree, and I majored in PR, and so when I was doing arts and entertainment units and all that, I would sometimes refer to them because they were doing really interesting things that were outside of the norm of how you would normally release an album or put out any kind of PR or communication and such. So they play a little bit more to industry standards these days, but they're never afraid to kind of do something different in their own thing, which is cool. So I'll throw another one out there. Mac DeMarco 2.
Oh yeah. That nearly made my list as well.
That's my favorite Mac album and reminds me so much of 2014, I think. was when I really got into that, which I wasn't too long after it came out.
I would say
or 2013 maybe.
Definitely been like one of the most influential albums of the decade.
For sure.
Yeah.
Mac DeMarco has had such an influence on indie music.
Fashion.
Fashion
for sure.
I remember.
Everyone loves Durries again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
And Op Shop's Simpsons t-shirts.
Yeah.
But I remember going to see him at Metro City with King Gizzard. It was a co-headline show.
Oh.
And it happened because they were playing a festival and then there was fires and they couldn't get to the festival. So they put it on and did it like part proceeds to the like the fire relief.
Oh, that's
charity.
cool.
It was great. It was a good night. There was Kieran J. Callanan played as well.
Perfect vibe.
Yeah. It was, and that was my introduction to him as well. And when I saw him, someone said to me, "Just go, don't Google him, don't YouTube him, just go, just make sure you're there for his set."
Very cool advice.
And I was like, all right, I trusted this guy's judgment. And I went along, and at the start, I was like, "What is going on? This is like Primus meets Kraftwerk." And
Great description.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Hey,
wow.
And then by the end of it, like, and the whole crowd was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because most people were there for either King Gizzard or Mac DeMarco. By the end of it, he had everyone screaming, "I'm the toddler," and he was out in a diaper, and or maybe it was just underwear or something, and he's like crawling on the stage saying, "I'm the toddler," and he had this little like rhyme about being a toddler, and the whole crowd was screaming again.
Wait, who is this?
Kieran J. Callanan.
Ah, okay.
It was a great night. Everyone like went from being like, "What the fuck is this guy?" to being like, "This guy is the fucking bee's knees."
Fucking genius.
Yeah. It was. He's a great showman.
No wonder Campbell's into him because he's doing the whole baby thing,
Yeah, that's all I want.
But to bring it back to Mac DeMarco, that night there was so many people who were excited to see Mac that were dressed exactly like him.
Yeah.
And me and my mates were there and we were counting. We were calling them mini Macs. And so we're like, "Oh, look at all the mini Macs," and we're like, "There's a mini Mac, there's a mini Mac," and as we walk around the city after as well, we'll be like, "Oh, mini Mac."
Well, there was a lot of talk about how there was a lot of like really like misplaced blame directed at Mac DeMarco for kind of like slowing the progression of indie music down.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, like he doesn't really have any control over like, what other musicians are doing. It's more like the people who are accountable for it are like either the record labels who just want to keep signing Mac DeMarco clones and also the people who just want to listen to everything that sounds just like Mac DeMarco. So the poor guy's like obviously just been like chastised for making great music.
He checked out of the lo-fi game at just the right time. Because when I saw him at that gig, I was like, okay, this is kind of like, I think another one was just about to come out or had come out. And I was like, okay, this is kind of like becoming a little bit of a one-trick pony. And then he released This Old Dog and it was all direct input.
Vintage synths. And it was all recorded like high fidelity, no lo-fi. And it was a great album. I think that was the last great album
he checked out
made.
the lo-fi game at just the right time.
Yeah. Some bands really do that, yeah. I had Mountain Goats in my list, Transcendental Youth.
Right.
Which was,
I don't know that album.
Oh, because, Mountain Goats, super lo-fi folk band. And then, their first I guess you call it hi-fi, like proper high fidelity, like DIs and stuff. Album was Transcendental Youth, which came out 2012, and was just this incredible thing. It's like the first time they got like brass and stuff into like this folk band, and it was incredible. But that just on the topic of like when bands do start adding in production value at the right time, it's something special.
Yeah, because I think as well, if you get accustomed or you start to enjoy a lo-fi artist or band or whatever, and it gets to the point where you're kind of wanting something more from them,
which is sense, or you so just, good for the artist, I think. Because another one that I had on my list was the album The Fall of Hobo Johnson.
Right. So I really liked, what was it, Scones and Peaches?
Yeah.
I really liked that track, but I never explored
Peach
him
Scones,
after that. Wait, is Hobo Johnson him or is that the group?
Yeah.
That's him.
So he's another one of those ones. So he came up through like the folk punk scene and then like became like the rapper and then obviously started adding in like, more synths and like actually turned it into like some sort of like really alt hip hop record, which is exactly what it is, which is a genre that's just straight after my own heart, as you've probably deduced. But it made me reflect on that kind of effect where it's like if you are a lo-fi artist, the easiest move, you've got the easiest progression in the world already laid ahead of you. It's like if people are getting bored, just up it.
up it. It's so
up
easy.
the production value. Yeah.
So what do you do if you've already upped it? Like if you're like someone like, I don't know, Alt J or King Gears or fucking Tame Impala, right? Like you've actually got to try.
Yeah, that's very true. Good way to put it. I might fire off another one or two because then I've got a boost.
Yep, do it. I've only got one more to go as well.
Yeah. All right. Tropical Fuckstorm, Laughing Death in Meat Space.
Interesting. That fell in your top.
2018. Man.
I know that you're a big fan of this album.
Yeah, or just the band in general. Like, man, it's like what you mentioned before when you heard an artist and it just knocked you off your feet. Like, I didn't know really what to fucking think when I first heard this album. Like, it opened with You Let My Tires Down, which is a pretty traditional, like, drone-sounding song. But then after that, it just takes you down this fucking bad acid trip fucking vortex of, like, you know, just weirdness. Like, super, I think I already used this word to describe another album, the Ty Segall one, but just super angular, like, jagged-sounding post-punk, really catchy with, like, you know, I don't know, like call and response vocals between him and the two girls in the band, which just worked so well. And just absolutely managed to create this total head fuck of a piece of art that, just impacted me like hugely. There are probably albums in the last 10 years that I've liked more than Laughing Death in Meat Space, but nothing that's really impacted me like that.
To last it through the decade.
Yeah. And then when I got to see them live finally, like, they were amazing as well, and they reproduced it like note for note. So they didn't just go and write something or create something that they couldn't replicate live. Like, they actually made this totally unique piece of art and then it could play it on stage. And it was just like, yeah, man, who the fuck sounds like them? Like, nobody.
Cool.
So, yeah.
And what's the other one?
The other one was Kurt Vile, Smoke Ring for My Halo, which came out in 2011.
Yeah.
Just absolutely love that guy, man. Like, that probably, once again, like, probably wasn't my favorite album of his, like, from the decade, but that was the one that, like, kind of really, sort of really endeared me to him.
Set something off.
Endeared him to me, or whatever, however you would say that. But yeah, that one is super stripped down too. Like, that's mostly, I don't think there are very many drums at all, or if there are drums, they're very soft, like, you know, brushes on snare kind of drums. But yeah, he's just got this kind of like really, what's the word? And he just seems kind of distant and like introverted and just has this beautiful guitar playing style. And I love his vocal delivery and I love his lyrics. They're like very like self-reflective, but kind of like they're not very poetic. They're kind of just like almost stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
You know,
kind of like and he gets compared to Neil Young a lot, but kind of in that Neil Young way.
Yeah. He doesn't croon like Neil Young does. Like his vocal delivery is almost kind of spoken word as well. There's a lot of Lou Reed in his vocal delivery, but he's also like, he kind of really evokes that kind of Philly sound as well. Like you can hear the Springsteen influence, and you can hear the influence from what he was doing with Adam Granduciel or whatever his name is. I'm probably fucked his name up. It's Adam something from the War on Drugs.
Oh right, yeah.
He was originally in that band with him and played guitar, and they were super like 1980s Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen kind of Philly sound inspired, and they kind of made that cool again, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like, it was really daggy for a while, and they were like, "No, fuck it, we like it, we're gonna run with it." And it just created these amazing albums. So yeah, that's my top 5.
Yeah,
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You've got one left, did you say,
One
Cam?
left. Yeah. I guess this would be my number 1 album. It's not the most obvious choice. It's a local one. A couple of Melbourne boys. I'm going to go with No One Gets Lost Anymore by the Smith Street Band, which was their first album.
Yeah.
And it just hit me like a ton of bricks at the time for so many reasons. I think mostly because it did something which is so unique to Australian songwriting. Like, you see it in people like Paul Kelly and stuff like that. But yeah, it was, you could tell. So I don't know if you guys ever heard that Elvis Costello quote. I'm a big Elvis Costello fan, but where he said, you've got a year to write your first album, and then, you've got a lifetime to write your first album, then a year to write your second. So I feel like that was the curse of that band, where Will Wagner wrote his entire life into an album, and it was the band's peak.
and then he had a year to write the second, and like 6 months to write the third. And they all just kind of sucked up.
Because they blew up, man.
They blew up, and like power to them. And you know, there are a couple of like bangers on the other albums and stuff, but I mean, it's not impossible to write a banger, but to write an album start to finish that just like has like the poetry that no one gets lost anymore. I mean, it's the perfect breakup album in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's everything that I love about Australian songwriting, and I don't think we've had an Australian album like it since. I don't think we had one before. To me, it's like the greatest lyrics out of any album that has ever come out of Australia.
Yeah, I think you're like definitely on the money with mentioning like Paul Kelly. And like they've got that level of like storytelling in their songwriting. Yeah, definitely. Just have something to say that you want to listen to. Like
exactly.
Lyrically. Yeah, and
there's a few Aussie artists like that. There's like Missy Higgins. I always found Jebediah to be on that train as well.
Yeah, Jebs are great. Yeah,
which I guess now that we're in Perth.
Yeah, very appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got one last one to drop.
Hell yeah!
Before you guys disappear.
Uber into the night.
I put this as my number 2 because it was another gateway. Well, this wasn't a gateway album, but it's his only album that wasn't an EP this decade. But I think it's a brilliant album. Is Aphex Twin's Syro.
Oh man,
powerful.
Yes, love that album.
Awesome album, really great. I'm a huge Aphex nut these days, and that was one of the albums that. When I first got into him, obviously I started off with Selected Ambient Works, the original, and then number 2. And Syro was very much one of the last ones that I explored, but ended up, falling in love with the most. So that album is just, to me, definitive of the decade. And also, I feel like it kind of set a new path as well for release structures. Like Aphex has always been kind of like on the cutting edge of like hype building and such. Like his Selected Ambient Works 2 album is considered the first album that ever had people talking on discussion forums on the internet about.
Whoa.
Because that got released right as forums started becoming a thing.
Of course, because that was around the turn of the decade, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so, he's always kind of been in the right position to do that. And so with Syro, he announced it because he'd disappeared for years. He announced it by flying a blimp over London with the Aphex Twin logo on it. And it was announced on the deep web.
They were like painting the logo in random places around the world and shit.
It was just like the ultimate like it was like bit of Banksy kind of,
like guerrilla marketing.
Guerrilla marketing, that's the term. Yeah.
When that stuff was trending as well.
Yeah.
That was like peak Banksy hype.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Yeah, so that was my second one, but yeah,
solid choice.
Yeah, so you guys are both gonna disappear, so
we do. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show, man.
Thank you so much.
Short notice. No, it was literally en route. Like I was honestly working like a few blocks that way. So
yeah. Oh right. Oh, so it was just down the road.
Yeah, have dinner with my sister. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, speaking of sisters, my sister, I have to give her a shout out because my sister is a mega fan of yours. She's got the Struthless beanie and everything.
Oh no way!
And after you said yes, I messaged her and I was like, guess what I'm doing it. And so she was like, oh no way, like unreal. So
awesome.
Yeah, she'll be hyped to hear
What's her name?
Erin.
Shout out Erin.
There you go. There's a shout out from Struthless for you.
Yeah, we did it. We did it, Erin.
Thanks so much again, man. Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, no worries,
man.
Thanks,
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, when you're back in Perth, maybe we can do this again.
Oh, yes, I should be back a bit next year. So
yeah.
Best albums of the first half of 2020.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Thanks, guys.
Catches.
Cheers.